Good evening, everybody. It's an evening live stream on Sunday. Hope you guys are all doing well. Once again, we're looking dead set ahead to the ski season. It's coming fast. For some people, they've already been out skiing, which I'm super jealous of. And that includes that includes today's guest, who really looking forward to having them on to talk about their experiences. This person, she is an intermediate skier. She's based out in Colorado. She has a YouTube channel and likes to share all of her experiences firsthand. She's already been to 3 different resorts opening days already this season. Without further ado, I'm delighted to welcome Angelina. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm really good, thanks. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for inviting me for my first live stream.
Yeah, so you've never done anything like this before?
No, never. I don't think I'm even I don't even have enough subscribers to do one, I think. So, yeah, first time.
Yeah. And I know they're bringing down sort of all the thresholds all the time with stuff like this, but yeah, it's a cool way to sort of chat with people in the comments, but also to hear directly from people like yourself about their passion for skiing and how they got into it. And I always like to kick things off with hearing a little bit firsthand from the guest, and then if anybody's watching in the live stream, be sure to get your comments into Angelina. So yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I started skiing in February 2021. So my husband and I, we moved to Colorado during the pandemic. And we did not move here for skiing, but when you're in Colorado, you basically just kind of end up skiing. I think that's just what people do here. And my friend invited me on a ski trip, so I just had to go learn and do that, and then we just became really, really obsessed with it. So yeah,
it gets you.
History.
It gets you as a sport, doesn't it? Once you've started it, you can't turn it off.
For sure. Although I think I got it pretty bad because no one else I know skis as much as I do.
Wow, that's a good badge to have. So you were quite late then to skiing, would you say?
Yeah, I was in my late 20s. So I actually so strictly speaking, that 2021 was not the first time I skied. Many years ago, when I was in my early 20s and my first job, it was back in California. Our bosses, our team would go on a ski trip every year, and so I tried it while I was working in that job one time, and I think I probably skied for 2 hours. It was so horrible for me that I had to download on the lift because I just could not stop falling. And then I didn't do it for a very long time after that.
Yeah. But you came back to it. I mean, and a lot of people don't do that, right? A lot of people get put off from that first early fall. But yeah, it sounds like you kind of determined to get going. And obviously, Colorado, you've got so many different resorts to choose from.
Yeah, it's definitely really nice here. And not only do we have a lot of resorts to choose from, there are actually quite a few resorts that are within 2 hours drive. So you can do a lot of day trips here. Yeah,
that's super handy, being able to do that and explore all the different ones. What about the video making? So how did all of that play into it?
I think I just really like to talk about skiing, and it really just kind of became this thing where I feel like I need an outlet to talk about it, record what I'm doing, and I think it also helps me not bother other people in my life about it. So, because I'm just thinking about it all the time.
Yeah. Even in the summer months, I'm with you there. It's hard to stop thinking about skiing, and you kind of look up at every mountain and go, "Oh, I wonder if I can ski that with snow on." And
exactly. And I mean, in Colorado, we're really lucky. We ski from October to June.
Yeah.
So I really just have 4.5 months off, but it still feels very long. Yeah.
Yeah. At what point do you start getting like the twitch, like ahead of the winter, and you start getting excited?
I think around August.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So this year it's like when I first started, like August is when I first started seeking out other ways to ski in the summer.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. Yeah. And so, I mean, like you say, Colorado, like America skiing tends to stay open a little bit later. It also
Hmm.
opens earlier. Um, how was skiing in Colorado last winter? Because I know that Utah and I know that California had this just record-breaking season. Did you guys get any of that?
I don't think so. I think it seemed pretty normal
Yeah.
to me, to be honest. But I think that's what I like about skiing in Colorado is like we don't get big dumps
Mm,
very often. At least not where I normally ski in Summit County, so like along the I-70 highway.
yeah.
We don't generally get like really big dumps, but it's very consistent. So like we'll
Mm,
just get a little bit of snow every week. Like there's not like usually there's not like a big period of not snowing, and the resorts rarely close. The roads don't really close. They do like a really, really good job maintaining that highway that goes to all the resorts.
mm,
So, I mean, I don't even know, I didn't even know what an interlodge was until I heard about it, with Utah last year.
yeah.
So that doesn't happen here. Like usually, sometimes, I mean, traffic, the roads close, but they close for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
They don't close for like 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, either way, like it's awesome that you've been out skiing already, like three different resorts. Like how have you found the conditions?
So I don't have like a ton of experience, but this is my third early season, I guess. And in my experience, opening day always has the best snow, and then it just like kind of slowly deteriorates after that until like late November, early December when it really starts to pick up again.
Yeah.
Um, at least in my opinion, like they obviously open more stuff as November goes along, but um, I don't think it really gets good until like close to the end of December. And November gets really crowded because the first few weeks, even opening day, obviously it's a little bit of an anomaly. Like everyone comes out, it's people are excited. But like the first 2 weeks, usually not a lot of people are skiing, but like when we get to closer to mid-November, everyone's out there. Like everyone in Denver is out there. It gets really crowded, but not enough runs are open. So that's when I start to like kind of take a break.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of just like the hardcore locals, the super keen skiers
Hmm.
right now, everybody out with
Yeah.
their rock skis.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although right now I don't think that's really necessary unless, there are people that will like duck a rope to the side of the run and try to ski like I don't know, the side and it's not really covered, but I don't do that. Like the groom runs are usually very covered, so that's not really something to worry about.
Yeah, I was just watching your videos on Keystone and A Basin, and yeah, I was actually impressed with how good the snow looked this early. But
Yeah.
uh, is that man-made snow?
Um, yeah, I think it's a combination of both. So opening weekend, so that was last weekend, there was a huge storm. We got over like I think A Basin had 14 inches of snow the 24 hours before they opened. So there's a combination of that and man-made snow, and I think Eldora was able to open early because of
Mm.
that storm. Um, I think A Basin they usually open once they have an 18-inch base. So, that storm definitely, sped it up. Yeah.
Nice. So how many days have you been out then so far?
4 days. Yeah.
Nice. Do you have a target in mind for the season?
Um, Not really. Just,
You still there? I got you. Can you hear
okay.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can
Gotcha.
you
Yeah,
hold on one second?
yeah, of
Let me see
course.
something. Okay. Okay, I'm good now.
Awesome.
Sorry about that.
No, don't worry about it. There's plenty of times where my GoPro goes completely down. It's just great when it works, and then when it
Yeah,
doesn't, it's a nightmare.
I know. That's why I'm so nervous.
Yeah. No, it's so yeah, you're not too fussed on how many days you do this year.
No, I'm not. I mean, I'm pretty confident that I will get probably around 70 days,
Mm.
but um, I don't I guess I don't once I get closer to the end of the season, then I start thinking about like, okay, I want to hit this many days.
Yeah.
I actually feel a little bit more strongly about wanting to hit like a certain number of verticals. So I think last year I was trying to get to 1 million feet of vertical, but I did not quite get there. I spent a lot of time at the boot shop.
Okay.
Um, so I feel like that definitely affected that a little bit. Ended that season with 800,000 feet of vertical, which
Whoa.
is not bad. It's like better than my last season.
Yeah.
So I think this season, I think I can get there, especially if I ski more groomers. I spend a lot of time, like, in Canada, do you say off-piste or ungroomed?
There's a couple of different names they use out here, so it kind of depends. Like,
Mhm.
like off-piste is the term we certainly use in Europe,
Okay,
um, but here in Canada, it kind of splits between backcountry and slack country. So I think
I see.
yeah, so slack country is what they refer to as off-piste, i.e., like, in the gates to the side of the piste, whereas like backcountry is out in the actual, no lift assisting and you're touring, etc.
I see. So I guess like what I'm trying to like the terrain I'm trying to talk about is like it's inbounds, it's in the resort, it's lift service, but it's not groomed.
Yeah.
So that's what I normally do, and I feel like like, since I focus a lot on that, I don't end up doing a ton of vertical drop. But this season I think I want to do a little bit more of that.
Well, I mean, 800,000 is not a little, like that's a lot, hey?
Yeah. Yeah, I do ski a lot, so
Are you tracking that?
I do track it. I feel like I don't know. I think once you start tracking, then you like always just need to track it. I think I'm a
Yeah.
little OCD about this. Like I need to have it, and I get really grumpy when I was using this app. I will not say what it was, but I was using this app on my watch, and it would just like randomly stop tracking,
Oh,
and I was very grumpy about it for a little while, and then I'm like, I'm just gonna use something else. Yeah.
that sucks, doesn't it? Especially like when you've had like a real like big day out there and you like,
Yeah.
your legs are tired, but you feel good and you're like, oh, I want to see exactly how it's done. And then yeah, it doesn't go
Yeah,
swimmingly.
exactly. And I want to know, like, I'm not thinking about it. I'm not counting while I'm, doing it.
Yeah.
So, honestly, at the end of the day, it's just like nice to know, and have a little map of where you've
Yeah.
been. Um, yeah, but now I have a Garmin and I just use the Garmin to track it, and it works
Nice.
really well. Yeah.
We in my second winter in Austria, there was this awesome website, and I can't remember the name, but you could link your RFID number to this
Mhm.
website, and every single night it would automatically update based on what you'd done that day. But I think the way that it calculated, it was done by distance.
Mhm.
I think there might have been vertical as well, but they calculated it based on the distances between all the lifts, so it was quite a big ski area. But
I see.
you could hook it up to your social media, and basically throughout the season with all your seasonal buddies, you're constantly like
Mhm.
comparing, and there was a leaderboard. So um
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah, it's fun to kind of be competitive with them and sort of crown a winner at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was there. So tell me a little bit about your ski experiences so far. So as you say, you only started in the last couple of years. From what I've seen on your YouTube channel, like you're really pushing the intermediate side of the skiing, which I absolutely love, because there's a lot of
Yeah.
intermediate skiers out there.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like the lane I choose for myself. Is like, I mean, I'm not gonna be able to compete with like the expert skiers, and I'm not quite there yet. And um, I guess I didn't talk about this before, but you were asking me why I wanted to start doing YouTube stuff because Um, one of the reason is that I, when I was, starting to do my first blue run, my first black run, I always like spend a lot of time trying to find information on like what is, I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice.
That's okay.
Excuse me. So I spend a lot of time trying to research what is a good, easy like blue run to start on, what is good, easy black run to start on, and I end up having to, go to many different websites, social media sites to find that answer.
Mm.
Watch a lot of like YouTube videos, and a lot of them are just kind of like people just film themselves skiing that particular run. And sometimes I even ask questions myself on these forums to try to find that out. And so now that I can ski a lot of that stuff, I really want to kind of give people that information. So I feel like a lot of it is like I'm making videos for myself, um, my past self, looking for that information. Like, hey, I want to progress from green to blues, and I'm at this resort. What should I try? Like,
Mm.
how can I progress? Because a lot of times you can look at it and you can figure out whether you can do it or not, but you can't scout every run. And sometimes you just like, by the time you get to the top of the run, it's already too late. You have to do it.
Mm.
So, and I'm a nervous skier, so I tend to like kind of over prepare myself. Like I need to, a lot of times I'm like, now it's a little bit better, but I'm still a little bit like that. I just like, I need to know that I'm ready for it, and I need to have as much information as I can before
Mm.
I go do something that I can't see. So yeah.
But that information is super valuable to a lot of other people as well, right? So
Yeah.
I think you touched on there that maybe you weren't finding that information as
Hmm.
easily, and so you've kind of started it. And from what I can see, like you've only been making videos for a short time, but the bit by bit, it seems like you're building quite a bit of an audience.
Yeah, I hope so. I think, I'm hoping to be a little bit more consistent this season. And, I want to make a little bit more of that kind of content. I don't think I've done enough of it. I've done a little bit of it.
Mm.
But that's, I definitely want to encourage people who are kind of, intermediate skiers wanting to get outside of their comfort zones. And, just want to make this sport a little bit more accessible and, just remove some barriers, I guess.
For sure. Like that's a large part of why I do what I do as well. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think if you look at it from the outside in, especially in Europe, there's a large
Hmm.
perception that skiing's for the elite.
Yeah.
It's a very expensive sport, which there is some truth to that, but there is a lot of stuff that goes on to try and make it more accessible, and just giving information, I think, makes getting into it a lot more easier, right? Because there's
Hmm.
so many people who I've come across looking to get into it, and they don't know anything about things like ski passes and
Yeah.
all the equipment that you need, and yeah, just having that information free for them to access.
Yeah. And I mean, when I first started, all of this was very overwhelming to me. I
Mm.
didn't understand, for example, how the Epic Pass, Icon Pass worked. I didn't know which resort to go to, um, a lot of things like that. And, I just like try very hard to find like what would be a suitable, like what would be suitable terrain for myself. So yeah, and what gear to buy, all
Mm.
kinds of things like that. I remember getting really confused about demo skis. Like I
Yeah.
didn't understand what that meant. Um, because you could go rent, and there's like usually in the US, I don't know about Canada, there's usually like a sports package, performance package, and then the demo package.
Mm.
And I bought demo skis in my first season too, and I just like was a little bit confused. Like, did I buy demo skis, or did I buy like the performance or sports? Like, is this something that I have to like get rid of
Yeah.
after a while? There were just like so many questions, Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot to consider to when you're starting out.
Hmm.
But how about now then? So you actually just mentioned ski passes like the Icon Pass,
Yeah.
and not, you live in an area where there's such a multitude of
Mhm.
ski resorts. So
Yeah.
what pass do you choose to ride all these areas?
Well, I definitely, you know, probably spend a little bit more money than a lot of people on ski passes. I have the Icon Pass and I have the Epic Pass. I also have a pass to Loveland. I don't know if you've heard of that one before.
No.
It's a very local ski resort. I really like that ski area because it's not really a resort, it's like a ski area. There's just only skiing and a lodge, and there's not really like, lodging or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's only 1 hour away from Denver,
Mm.
and it avoids the worst congestion points when you drive up. So you don't have to go over this big pass that goes above that resort. And there's also a tunnel like that starts right around where that ski area is.
Mm.
So that's where people usually get stuck. They have to wait for a very long time. And so this is just like a really easy place to get to. And I also really like the terrain. So it's usually not very crowded. Yeah.
That's handy. That sounds a
Mhm.
lot like the equivalent of our Rogers Pass, which is
Okay.
the barrier for us getting to places like Kicking Horse or Lake Louise.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it can get pretty gnarly when there's a storm. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm. Yeah, but the phrase "revel stuck" is real in our parts. So yeah, it
I love
happens.
that. That's funny.
Yeah, yeah. I'm hoping though that I can get out and do a couple of trips to other resorts this year.
Hmm.
Um, have you got any trips planned yet? Like what, or are you sort of gonna go with the flow throughout the season?
Yeah, so I think we're gonna do an early season trip to Utah towards the end of the year.
Mm.
And we're going to Niseko, might go to Rusutsu, which is just like next door, right? Have you been to Rusutsu?
That was the one. I never went to that one, and I kind of regret it.
Mm.
Like my main
Because
base.
it's like right next door, right?
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah, it's man, Niseko was great. Like you'll have a fantastic time, and I hope you have a good amount of snow when you get there. But it's a totally different for like from skiing in
Hmm.
North America and Europe. It's just yeah, a bit of a culture shock.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I haven't been outside of North America
Mm.
yet, so yeah.
Yeah, it's good food, good beer, good, the some quirky little ski bars, so it's definitely one to tick off.
Yeah.
But Utah sounds exciting.
Yeah, I went to Utah for the first time last season, and it's also a little bit different from Colorado. Like you would
Okay.
think the Rockies is all the same, but it's a little different. Like, it's more spread out. You can just go 3, 4 different directions to ski. Like in Colorado, it's basically just this one I-70. Most resorts are on like all the ones you've heard of,
Yeah.
like Breckenridge, Vail, they're all on this one highway.
Yeah.
But in Utah, it's a little bit more spread out. But they, like I said, have like a lot more closures, and there's so much snow. Went to Alta, that was like a huge shock. I think they on average get twice the amount of snow that we do.
Wow.
So that was just like a very different experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Utah. We were chatting about this actually just before we went
Mhm.
on air, and yeah, Utah got so much snow last year, and I know that Alta and Mammoth and
Mhm.
I think they kind of like hogged everybody else's snow.
Yeah, like from Europe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely from Europe and a little bit from BC as well. Like we didn't have the biggest of snow years, but we did
Mhm.
okay.
I know, I went to Whistler. It was scary. Like,
Yeah.
it was pretty icy, and it didn't snow the whole week I was there. I could tell, like, I thought for some reason because it's on the West Coast, so I somehow because California got so much snow, so
Mm.
I was under the impression that Whistler did too, but I
Yeah.
was kind of surprised at, like, the way it looked, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's weird. I mean, I kind of thought that the same, especially on the West Coast areas. But
Right.
yeah, it was weird. Um, Just a quick one. I know we've got a couple of people who are watching in the live stream, so hey to you guys. Be sure to get your comments and questions into the section there, and we'll read them out. We've actually got our first one right here. Freedom Rider says, Bramski, will you be skiing any other BC resorts this winter? Red and Fernie are great, and Panorama has some interesting terrain and long groomers. Best skiing I had last year was Revi in early April. Yeah, our second half of the season last year it was like we got a second wind. And yeah, nobody's around in early April. My plans, I've got a couple. I'm hoping to get out to Silver Star, which would be the closest resort. I'm in mid-December. I met up with some people on a hike who kindly offered me a place to crash there. I would like to get out to either Red or Whitewater, depending on when I can get some days off. But yeah, it'd be nice to get a ferry out to Nakusp. I think Fernie might be a little bit too far for me. You said, Angelina, that you'd actually been to Canada. That was going to be one of my next questions. Actually, was what have you made of Canada skiing? Is it just Whistler you've been to?
Yeah, it's just Whistler. We actually flew into Seattle, and I took the train, and then I took the bus to get to Whistler, and I thought it was really cool. But I was like, Whistler is a very advanced mountain, and I think one of the things I like about skiing in Colorado, and I guess I'm also just like very used to it, is we have a lot of double black runs, and by that I mean they are classified as such. And in some other places I've been to outside of Colorado, I think the most notorious ones being like Taos, Alta, and Whistler, there will be these black runs, single black runs, but there's like a really like there's like two, they're just like very few double black runs, but then like the single black runs, a lot of them are like double black runs in Colorado, and there's just like a really big range of difficulty with single blacks. And that for me, especially as a nervous skier, that was a little bit challenging. And at Whistler specifically, I just felt like there was many opportunities to be on top of a cliff. So that gave me a lot of anxiety.
Yeah. Blacks is like diamond blacks are a gamble, because you don't know, is it going to be groomed? Is it going to be Mowgli? How steep is it going to be? There's no sort of uniformity with it. But obviously Whistler's like a super popular one. My cousin, he's just about to start teaching his partner this year at Grouse, which is like a beginner hill in Vancouver. Very much sort of focused towards the beginner and intermediate. It's like not a large ski area, but nice enough that there's space to learn, and with some pretty spectacular views of the city.
Nice. That's just right across the bay. Like it's right across from Vancouver, right?
Yeah, when you fly into Vancouver, Whistler, I don't think you can see, but you can see 3 single individual resorts. You've got Grouse, Cypress, and there's another one which is going to really annoy me. I should know this by now. But yeah, there's all lots of different ones there. Freedom Rider says, is there any progress on the proposed lift in the South Bowl at Revi? Well, it was doing the rounds on a public like open forum in town earlier in the season, but there's no date on it. They're calling it Lift 15, I think, for now. I believe they want to begin clearing some of the base area for it maybe next summer. Don't quote me on that. But the main priority right now is to get all the accommodation infrastructure built at the bottom. So, they're working on a hotel, and staff accommodation are all at the base there. So that's the main priority in the short term. I think you're looking at a couple of years yet before that South Bowl lift goes in there. But when that gets in there, that'll open up some awesome terrain in Montana. Montana Bowl. But yeah, for now, I like doing the little hike up to the sub peak. It's worth it. Yeah. What, Angelina, what would you describe as your local hill? Like, do you have a favorite?
You mean like a home mountain?
Yeah.
Um, I think that's a really hard question. I think for a while I considered Breckenridge to be my home mountain, but that's definitely not necessarily my favorite.
Uh-huh.
I think for me it's probably between A Basin, so Arapahoe Basin,
Yeah.
and Loveland, I
Mm.
think. It changes. Like I think for a while I really, really liked Winter Park because they have free parking right next to the lift.
Mm.
And I for a while like I was, you know, very focused on the type of terrain that they have, which, they do like on the Mary Jane side of Winter Park. Winter Park is it I don't know if you've heard, but like Winter Park has the Winter Park side and the Mary Jane side. It feels like two different ski areas, and I usually go to the Mary Jane side where you can park slope side for free, and it's just like kind of like the best place to go for bump skiing. So
Yeah.
um, I was very into that for a really long time. So I really liked going there, and they have really good late season.
Mm.
Some years, my first season, I think they just keep getting storms in the spring, April, May. So yeah, it's one of my favorite places.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so many options here, like there's probably like, 4 to 6 places that I just consistently rotate through. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. That's good that you're sort of keeping it, not specific to one. I know like a lot of people,
Hmm.
once you have like your favorite one, you kind of close off to some of the others. I'm a bit like that with
Yeah.
Wisdom, but there's a distance element there.
Yeah.
Free parking's definitely a luxury.
Free
Freedom
parking.
Freedom Rider's got a question for you, Angelina.
Okay.
Have you skied around Aspen? Um,
Yeah. I I never thought of myself as the kind of person who would really love Aspen, but I love going to Aspen.
yeah.
I every time I go there, I'm like, I wish I was rich because it's such a lovely town. I mean,
Mm.
friendly is, I mean, the people there are kind of interesting, like, because you have just all kinds of people. Um, it's definitely a bougie town. The
Okay.
skiing is excellent. I've been to all four mountains and they're all a little bit different. I like Ajax, which is Aspen Mountain, the one that's like right in town the most.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think the best part is that it's not crowded. It takes in the winter, I think it takes 4 to 5 hours to drive there from Denver.
Wow.
So people don't generally go, and the lodging is pretty expensive. So, it's you can make it work. I mean, they have like pretty decent shuttle in that valley
Mm.
that is, just to cost like $2 one way, and it takes you right to the mountain. There are definitely ways to, save on going to Aspen, but for most people living in Denver, it's not the most accessible.
Mm.
And of course, you can fly to the Aspen airport, which is literally across the street from one of the mountains. I think if you really want to, you can walk from the airport to Buttermilk. Um,
It sounds like a place where you've got to have a nice big Gulf Stream to be able to fly into that.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
actually kind of cool. You drive towards Aspen and drive next to the airport, and you just see like rows of private jets.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
remember it. I actually did a trip. I mean, I've skied a little bit in Colorado when I was like super younger.
Hmm.
Did Winter Park and Breckenridge. But one summer was going through Aspen. Weirdest thing ever. I ended up playing a rugby match in Aspen.
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah, that was kind of just by chance. But yeah, we drove past that airport, and I just thought, oh my word, like, this is something else.
Yeah.
But besides that, everything else that you've actually just described about Aspen sounds so similar to Revelstoke.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say Revelstoke is bougie, but in terms of like the picturesque town, and the ski
Yeah.
hill with everything that comes with that is very unique, but not easy to access.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just you kind of have to make some sacrifices in the experience, I guess. Like you have to spend, if you're flying into Denver, you have to spend 5, 6 hours driving there instead of say like 2 hours to Keystone.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe that's the difference between one ski day or not, right? And, you know, staying slopeside would be incredibly expensive in Aspen, but you can probably make it work in Keystone. So, you know, it's kind of like that. But I mean, I have barely stood in line in Aspen. I mean, I make it sound like I go there all the time. I've been there maybe a total of like 9 days.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, during that time, it's all peak season, February, no lines.
Yeah. Wow.
Regardless of what the snow is like. Yeah.
God, what are all those wealthy people in those chalets doing? Not skiing.
Yeah, I think definitely sometimes people just go there to not ski because there's plenty to do in town. I mean, there's, you know, a lot of shopping, I guess, for people who are in that demographic. But if you are not buying Chanel or Prada, you can still walk around. There are lots of galleries and the food is good. So
yeah. How did you find the I guess the atmosphere? Because Freedom Rider said that he's found Aspen as one of the friendliest ski towns he's ever visited, or she.
Yeah, I think it's pretty friendly. I mean, I don't know if I didn't talk to a ton of locals, but you know, the people that I don't know, I don't find it to be like actually very, very different from other places. Like I guess it's like similar to Vail, but just I don't know. You can tell like people are more well off, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Apparently Freedom Rider says every local I met when I was there said it was too cold to ski and it was only -10.
What is -10? And this is seriously so embarrassing because we talked about this before.
Oh yeah, the metric.
We started. I grew up with Celsius and I don't even know what that means anymore.
That's
okay.
10.
So -10. When I went, there was one day I went to it was like a year and a half ago, like 2 Februarys ago.
Yeah.
It was -12 Fahrenheit, which is how much Celsius? That's like -24 Celsius.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's where it gets too much. And in Revi, we seem to always have like 1 or 2 weeks of the season where that happens. And we get like that -20, -24. And all the locals won't ski like that. But if it's like -10 C, I think it's a good temp. But yeah, just anything.
Yeah. I mean, people will go if it's a powder day. That's for sure. Yeah. That one day where it was -12 Fahrenheit, there were plenty of people skiing, and I actually survived. It was cold. Like I could not take my hands out of my mittens.
Yeah.
But I mean, other than that, it was okay. Just layered up a bunch.
Yeah. As long as the chair kept moving, you were fine.
Yeah, and actually in Aspen there's a gondola. So the gondola goes from the Ajax Mountain. There's a gondola from the base all the way up to the top. So you can just lap that gondola.
Yeah.
And that's pretty warm. So
in Europe they have a lot, and I've not really seen many in North America or Canada yet. Is a lot more of these chairlifts where they have covers and they have heated seats.
Like yeah. They have one in Copper. Not heated seats, I don't think, but there's like I think they call it the bubble.
Yeah.
The bubble comes down. Yeah. So, but not very common in Colorado.
No.
Yeah.
Vinny has joined. Vinny, how are you, buddy? Thanks for coming on. It's been a while. Mount Tremblant in Canada is very fun. He says, for years we went up to Canada without goggles or any face protection. Lol, our faces would be bright red.
Yeah. I actually my first day of skiing back in 2021, I did not want to buy a bunch of things because I didn't know if I would like skiing. We rented a helmet, but we were just kind of like, okay, I think goggles is optional. So, and it was miserable. I never ski without goggles again. I think, it was so hard.
So, I mean, linking that actually back to how you then got into the skiing. How did you go about getting all your equipment? Because as we touched on, like, sometimes all the equipment can be quite expensive while starting out. Did you have a bit of an approach to it?
Yeah, I mean, at the time I didn't know too much, but I rented at this shop in Denver, and I saw that they were selling demos, and I had no idea what that meant, but it said demo package 350, something like that.
Yeah.
Um, for skis, poles, bindings, and boots. And so I was like, that sounds great, because I looked up what it would cost retail, and it was wild. It was like more than 2 times that amount. So, I mean, especially when you factor in boots, right?
Yeah.
So I just bought a package from that shop, and they even said if you wanted to, if you don't like these skis, you can swap it out for another one, because it's just their old demo fleet uh, that they rent out, so they have plenty to choose from. And I actually did go back a couple weeks later to swap them out for a wider ski. I think I started with something like 80 underfoot, and it ended with like an 88. So I thought it was a really, really good deal, and I highly recommend. The place I went to is called Breeze Ski Rentals. Um, so I think if you're a beginner, it's like a really good place to start. Yeah.
Shout out to them. And what resort are they in?
They're just in Denver. They're actually in Lakewood, which is right next to Denver. It's like between Denver and the mountains. And usually when you're in Denver, you can find, if you're just renting in Colorado, that's actually a tip, is rent your gear in Denver and not on the mountain, because it will be a lot cheaper. It'd be like half the price.
Yeah.
So
that's definitely something to bear in mind for city dwellers, for sure.
Yeah, if you know what you want. I mean, you can, like, the airport, it's like between the airport and the mountain, so you can just like stop by somewhere. But if you want to demo skis and like switch them out, a lot of the mountains here, you can say, I want to rent skis, and they'll let you switch them out as much as you want. So then if you want to do that, then you should rent at the mountain. But otherwise, Denver will be a lot cheaper.
Yeah. Shout out to Freedom Rider and Vinny for their questions so far. I can see we got a few other people joining us live, so thanks, guys. Make sure to get your comments and questions in. Let us know. I want to know what you're excited for the season. Has anybody else done any skiing yet? So you've done 4 days.
Yeah.
4 days. And how are the ski legs feeling? Are they tired? Are they achy?
They're good now. I tried a couple kind of indoor skiing experiences here leading up to the season. One of them is kind of a ski simulator. It's supposedly what like a lot of Olympic skiers use.
Yeah.
So it just like points straight, and then it goes like side by side, and then you have like a screen in front of you. It's like a slalom. It's like a simulated slalom course, and that, I think, is just a bit of fun. And then there's this other one, which is a revolving slope. It's just kind of like a ski treadmill, and you're actually on actual skis. They have like special wax for it, but it's kind of like, in Europe, I think in Denmark, they have this like, they have like summer ski slopes that look like grass.
Yeah.
I feel like the surface is probably very similar, and it just like keeps going like a treadmill, and then
it's like a revolving dry ski slope.
Exactly. And so I feel like those experiences like kind of worked my legs a little bit to get ready for the ski season.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling pretty good right now. I mean, the first day was a little rough, but I don't know if it's because of my legs per se, or it was a really crowded ski slope. So
muscle memory always takes a while to kick back in.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's just like riding a bike.
Yeah. We were talking a little bit before we went live as well about ski boots. So sticking on the subject of gear, because you've had a few things to say about picking ski boots out.
Yeah, I'm definitely not an expert. I'm starting to learn a little bit more about myself.
Yeah.
But I'm not an expert. But I think, so just for those of you who don't know, I went to a boot fitter that was recommended to me by a friend who is a very experienced skier, like ex-racer. And so, I had very, very high hopes, and I think they really do know what they're talking about.
Mm.
But it is an experience where, like, you kind of, generally speaking, you have to pay them, like, it was $1,500 for the boots and the liner. It's like a custom liner. And I kind of had this expectation that because it's so custom that it would just be magic.
Yeah.
But it really didn't work for me, and I ended up just spending the whole season, like, almost every week going back to the store. I went to the store in, like, they have locations everywhere. They have one in, I've been to the one in Vale, I've been to the one in Keystone, I've been to the one in Breck, and I've seen, like, pretty much all of their boot fitters. And it just never really quite worked for me.
Mm.
And so I think, and I've also, you know, between that and afterwards, I also saw a couple other boot fitters, and they all kind of say very similar things to me. But, you know, and charge me money. So I spent a lot of money, like, trying to figure this out, but, like, nothing really worked for me. And recently, I think I'll make a video about this, but I will also just give this update here, which is I thought that I would try something different, which is just size up. Because what happens to me is, like, if this is my foot,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, like, it's what hurts is always, like, under the arch.
Okay.
And it usually is a problem when I'm skiing moguls. It's not really that big of a problem when I'm skiing groomers,
Mm.
although I'm not really exactly sure why that is.
Yeah.
And I just get this, like, very tight feeling. I mean, it's so painful that I can't ski at all. Like, one time I had to sit down and take my boots off. It was
Whoa.
that bad. I mean, it's, like, horrible to do that. You
Yeah.
know, but I just had to. It was just hurting me so bad. And I think my biggest tip is, like, you know, it's very difficult because you're kind of in this position of, you're not the expert. You don't know anything about this. And that's why you go to a boot fitter. And they are supposed to know everything, but you also know yourself, and they cannot gauge, like, what your pain level really is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so I think it's important to kind of be assertive and, like, just, like, tell people what you want. And I don't know, I guess at some point you should, like, cut your losses. But I was just kind of thinking about what was going on and what worked, because the demo package boots that I bought, they were $50 and they worked for me, and they were one size bigger. So I thought I would just, you know, start trying boots that are one size bigger. So the boots that I currently am on is one size bigger than the ones that the boot fitter put me in. So, and it's been working fine for me, but I have only skied shorter groom runs so far. So it remains to be seen how that would work, on, you know, more ungroomed stuff, steeper stuff. Yeah.
Well, it's a really valuable experience to share. That is, because, yeah, they can tell you every spec on the boot. You know, they can tell you it's the latest, you know, sort of poly material, and it's been recycled, and it's this and it's that. But if it doesn't feel right in your boot, none of that matters, right?
Exactly. And I mean, I got all the scans. Like, you know, they scanned me, and every single boot fitter I've been to told me, this is your size. Right. And that was, I mean, I don't think that's my size anymore.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't work for me.
Yeah. It's crazy. And there's the thing with feet and boots is, like, every single one is so different, you know, like each person is completely different. I mean, I'll definitely be doing a video on the new boots I just got, but, like, I went in there and I'd looked at my old boots beforehand just to sort of check the sizes, and I kind of quoted what it was. But when we come to measure it, it was like, oh, my right one was like 26.5, and then my left foot was 27. So it's like right on that edge.
Oh man.
Yeah. Vinny's got a question here, which I think kind of ties into what we were just talking about, which is, are boot sizes more important than snowboard boots? I'm usually fine getting my shoe size for snowboard boots. I'll take a stab at this one first. Yeah, they are, because I think with skiing, because there's a lot more maneuvering to the sides on your ankles. Um, the the space within the boot itself is really important. There's a lot more, I think, compression of your foot, whether that's like you said, Angelina, on the bottom, or it's on the
Yeah.
sides, or wherever it is. And yeah, if you don't get that right, it is excruciatingly painful. Doesn't matter whether you've got custom boots, custom soles, or whatever. If it's not the right size, or it's not molded correctly or heated, it just causes like a lot of pain. um and yeah, that can put a lot of people off the sport. Like my brother had this problem for a few years, and we were like constantly telling him, look, you're at an age now, your feet aren't growing, get yourself a set of custom boots. And he came to Revelstoke, and he had a real bad time of it, and he was in such a bad mood. And I said to him, listen, like, you got to get some, because this is just like putting you off the sport which you love, right?
Yeah. I think I'm hoping that there's a better way of buying boots,
Mm.
in the future, because I feel like this process to me feels a little broken, and because I was so desperate and trying to find an answer for myself,
Mm.
I searched a lot, and I realized a lot of people have this problem. And the problem is, like, you have to commit to a boot and then you cannot return it in a lot of cases,
Yeah.
right? You spend all this money and then they're like, no refunds. Like, you can go to a boot fitter to fix it, but like that's not necessarily always going to work. Like, I went to multiple boot fitters and they did all kinds of stuff to my boot, and nothing really worked. And and in some cases, like, I cannot get a refund. I might be able to sell them, but
Mm.
can't get a refund. And generally speaking, there's no such thing as demoing boots.
Yeah.
So you can't try them. And people will say you don't want to demo boots because you want them to mold to your feet. But, like, I don't know. I guess, at least for me, I think I would have gotten a lot of value in
Mm.
trying out different boots. And there's such a variety now. There's even this kind of boot where it's this, you can be in a snowboard boot,
Yeah.
and there's like an attachment. I think it's called Apex.
Yeah.
So essentially you can like make the snowboard boot into a ski boot.
Mm-hmm.
And there are kinds that are like high volume, that it's like rear entry. There are just so many different kinds, and maybe you can like mold it to your feet to make it more precise or make it more comfortable.
Yeah.
But I do feel like the current boots I'm on, I have not taken it to a boot fitter. They're just the way they are coming out of the box. It is a beginner boot, so it is supposed to work a little
Mm.
for like a wider range of people.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like, at least for me, like, currently I do feel like um the boot should feel okay
Mm.
without any kind of custom work done to it.
Yeah.
But I think it works for some people, especially if you want like high performance. I think that's what like the customization is really good for,
Yeah.
is to like really get really good energy transfer into the skis. Because one of the reasons I wanted to get new boots is because my old boots, they feel a little bit big, and I do feel my feet moving around in it a little bit more, and that definitely compromises on stability.
Yeah. I'm just amazed that within that original experience you had, no one sort of tried, at the early stage, tried like a different size boot with you. Because like you say, depending on your measurements, like if you're right on the edge,
Yeah.
depending on what you do to the boot in terms of heating it up and changing it on an angle or on below or whatever, that has a huge effect. So there's definitely, a good boot fitter should definitely get you to try, I think, one or two different sizes beforehand, like regardless of what brand of boot it is and what cool walk mode technology it's got.
Yeah.
There's some more questions here for you. I'm going to read this one out, and then I'm going to go turn my heating down. Freedom Rider says, Angelina, did you take lessons, and what advice would you give to someone who is thinking about starting skiing?
I love this question. I did take a lesson on my first day. It was a 2.5 hour group lesson. I think that was pretty useful. But I feel like this whole lesson thing is a little bit, is something I feel very strongly for, because I spend a lot of time on forums on Reddit and Facebook about skiing, and I feel like every time someone asks a question about like how to do a specific thing on skis and stuff, like the comments is just filled with people saying just take a lesson.
Yeah.
And this kind of goes back to what we were talking about, accessibility. Like, not every lessons are extremely expensive in Colorado.
Yeah.
And I mean anywhere, right? Lessons are really expensive. Like, people can't just afford $150 every time they go ski, and you know, and a lot of times, like, this $150 is a group lesson, and where you have to share with a group of people that might have a varying level of abilities.
Yeah.
So I personally, what I did, I also had the same feeling, like, this is way too expensive. Skiing is already expensive without lessons. So what I did was I just spent a lot of time watching a variety of YouTube videos. So I really like Deb Armstrong, and I actually learned from a lot of my skiing from this like Chinese YouTuber. But yeah, I just like watch a variety, lots of tutorials on YouTube, so many resources. So I think, you know, there's definitely enough out there. And then I feel like, you know, I've taken lessons too, like in kind of every step of like once I feel like I kind of get to a point where I'm like a little bit stuck, then I'm like, okay, maybe this is time to take a lesson. Or if I, you know, think of a you know, decent, like if I find a decent deal. So for example, there's this mountain in Colorado called Monarch, and they do private lessons, half day private lessons for 200, and I think we paid $240.
Okay.
And you can share it between two people. So my husband and I, we split the private lesson, and that made a lot of sense to me. And that was like, you know, we hadn't taken a lesson in the whole season. So, you know, I think if you can afford it and you're kind of at this point where you feel a little bit like you're at a plateau, then I think it makes sense. But otherwise, it's just like kind of, you know, just keep skiing. And it's when I was a beginner in particular, like I would just try to challenge myself just a tiny bit outside of my comfort zone. And that really helped. And I kind of alternated between like trying moguls and trying steeper groomers. And, you know, like one thing would really help the other. So, yeah.
I definitely think there's more that can be done about making beginner skiers realize that you know, actually in terms of learning to ski, there's ways that you can save money. You've actually just touched on one with the private lesson option and how the price was for, you know, not just one person. That's something which the last time I was in Europe, a lot of the private, I think, was just for one person, which I could be wrong. But Revelstoke do a similar thing to the resort you just mentioned, where their private lesson is a price that includes 3 people. So, you know, if you're a beginner and you've got 1 or 2, you know, people who may be at a similar standard and you're both a little bit nervous, you don't want to be just going to a group lesson where you're not going to get that same one-to-one time. You know, just being aware of that. And I think, I don't know, you'll be able to tell me if they do this in the American resorts, but one thing I thought was really good here in Revelstoke is they do locals days. So once a month they'll do real cheap lift tickets. So they'll do like $20 lift tickets, and then they'll also do like a very, very beginner lesson, and it's like a 2-hour lesson. And I don't know what the cost is, but the lesson, you know, includes basic rentals. So, you know, things like that when you're starting, you know, you're not committing to a full season pass, you're not committing to all this money, you know, and you're just wanting to try it. Being aware of those options is real key to saving some money, but also learning skiing safely. I mean, I do think it's important to learn correctly with lessons, only because, I mean, maybe 10, 15 years ago, it would have been okay to say, go up with your parents or a friend and let them teach you. But so many of these resorts now are all tied up in insurance and waivers and everything. And it's like, do you know what I mean? If your buddy's teaching you and you have an accident, then it becomes a nightmare.
Yeah, yeah, that's totally fair. So with local days, I think the only place that I know of that does that consistently is Wolf Creek. It's like in southern Colorado.
Okay.
I've never been there, but I know they do like local appreciation days where they do like a cheaper lift ticket.
Hmm.
When I learned, I got a package at A Basin, and it was $150 for lesson and lift ticket. So
Nice.
I thought that was like a really good deal. I mean, I was just like trying it out, right? Like you said, it's like very hard to think about, like it's just like easier to get into it when you can, okay, this is something that's approachable. You don't have to spend $500 just to try skiing, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I know Loveland also has a beginner program. It's all more expensive now. All of this is more expensive now. Inflation is crazy in the US. And it's only been 2 years, right?
Mm.
But Loveland has this like, I think, try skiing, like, I don't know, you could ski 3 days, includes rentals. Um, and it's like a decent price. And then I think if you just pay a little bit more, they give you a season pass. So there are definitely things like that, but not enough, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've taught some of my friends. I mean, I'm not like, any kind of teacher material, but
Yeah.
I've taught some of my friends, and they seem perfectly proficient on the mountain right now.
Yeah.
So I think the most important thing for me, I think, is for everybody to like understand like the skiers, what is it called? Like the responsibility code,
Code.
you
Yeah.
know? Yeah, because that's not just for protecting other people, it's also protecting yourself.
Mm.
Especially if early season, if you spend a lot of time on blue runs, I think that's when you have to be really, really careful about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couple more comments we got in here. So Freedom Rider on the boot subject there. Key to a great boot fitting is having a custom footbed. The extra money is 100% worth it. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I need to get some done for my new boots. Possible video on that at another time, guys. So stay tuned for that. Vinny, this again, I think it's on the boot topic. Okay, makes sense. Thank you. I might go skiing again for the first time in 16 years. Have only been snowboarding since then. So Vinny, as a snowboarder, you find sort of picking out snowboard boots fairly straightforward. You don't have sort of any pain or anything like that, because like you said, Angelina, it's not like it's not like you're going into a sports shop and picking out a set of runners and going, I
Yeah.
can feel there's a little bit of gap between my toes, that's fine, I'll go. It's way more complex than that.
Yeah, for sure. I actually had problems with my running shoes too,
Yeah.
but that got solved, I think, relatively easily. Like I found a shoe that worked, but I think it's even harder with ski boots because it is a hard shell
Yeah.
and there's more of a temperature element to it. When it's cold, it will just be tighter,
Mm.
right? And you have to kind of get like the buckles right, and there's just a lot of variations to
Yeah.
it. So yeah, it's tough. Yeah.
Vinny also says, so if possible, save money by skiing with friends who already know how to ski and snowboard. If they're willing to teach you a bit, you'll be properly motivated to keep up with them too.
Yeah, I'm that person.
Yeah. Nice. So you're bringing some people to the sport though.
Yeah, and I like to ski with people, so
Yeah.
I just for me it's a little bit of an investment. Like I will spend time with them on green runs and give them some pointers, and then I'll have a ski buddy. One of my friends, he is so talented. Like, I mean, he's just like naturally talented. I just like, taught him how to ski. He actually fell down a lot on his first day, but then like literally 3 weeks later, I went with him to ski a double black run. So, that was a great investment for sure.
Nice.
And
Nice.
we're going to Japan together. So,
Ooh.
yeah.
You're excited for that, hey?
Oh yeah, very excited. Yeah. I'm from Taiwan, so
Okay.
Japan is a very easy place for me to go to if that becomes a thing that I enjoy doing. So I have to go home and see my parents every once in a while. So yeah.
I've got an old school friend from Taiwan who started up a travel agency, and
Oh yeah.
I bumped into him in Niseko. He was bringing people over, and he was like saying, you know, there's loads of people from Taiwan, even though there's no skiing in Taiwan, but they really love the sport.
They have indoor stuff in Taiwan.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have I mean, basically everything they've tried. I think they have the Olympic machine, and they have the revolving slope, and they have like a indoor ski resort, like the one in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, but it's very small. It's all very small scale. It's just for people to learn before they go to Japan.
Sure.
So they can like effectively use that time in Japan to actually ski. But most people, they go to Japan or Korea to ski.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vinny's replying to our question on snowboard boots. So I've always gone with my shoe size, even though as a kid when I'd get rentals, as long as I tighten my boots and tie them tight enough, I don't tend to have any issues.
I'm jealous.
Lucky you, mate. Yeah, very lucky.
Yeah, I think it, like, really your mileage may vary. My husband went into REI. They put him in a boot. They did like just a very basic heat mold, and then he's all good. So, you know, it just really depends.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a long season ahead. What have you got coming up in the next couple of weeks? Anything in particular that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, next Friday, Breck and Vale are opening on the same day.
Nice.
And then, so I am still trying to decide which one to go to. And then I think I'm excited for Loveland to open, that local resort we talked about. That is really close. But yeah, I don't really have a lot of concrete plans until the end of the year when we have plans to go to Utah. Yeah.
If you go to Breck, you've got to go to the Bubba Gump restaurant if it's still there. I remember that. Yeah.
I don't recall seeing it there, but yeah, I'll look it up.
Maybe it's gone now. I don't know. Gosh, it was such a long time ago, but like I just remember the food there was so good.
Yeah.
I didn't get fish. I think I got something like, I don't know, it was some form of like breaded chicken with like some mash, and it had this really amazing like sauce. Like it was so good. But just as that whole experience of like the run Forest run, for if you don't want them to serve you, and then you flip the cart and then they come and serve you if you want something else. So
okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah,
that sounds fun.
Yeah. Went to that restaurant in NYC. It's always good. Yeah, they've got a couple. I think they have one in London as well. There's only got 7 or 8. Bramski, where exactly is Dickland tree skiing at Revi, and where is the entrance to access it? I'm going to be completely honest. I don't know which area on that you're talking about. I've never heard of that run. Do you know whereabouts on the mountain it is? Like, is it on North Bowl and Greeley, like near the glade, the like back 40 glades? Yeah, I've not heard of that one. I've been skiing there the last 2 seasons. I've not heard of that one. The thing, what I will say is every couple of seasons, there's a couple of the runs where they have changed the names. You know, there's one area which they're named after lots of different like heavy metal soundtracks. So 1 year, one year it was a bunch of like Def Leppard and Metallica names. Now it's kind of been switched to a bunch of Twisted Sister songs. So yeah, I don't know. They change it every so often.
Oh wow, that's so confusing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. But yeah, some of the iconic runs still stay the same, like Kill the Banker. That's a unique one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, Angelina, I've really enjoyed you coming on the show tonight and talking about your experiences.
Thanks for having me.
No, it's a pleasure. If anybody was to find you on socials, on YouTube, where do they need to go?
Yeah, so it's just Angelina Outside on YouTube, and also that on Instagram. And I do posts on TikTok, but I definitely don't spend as much effort on TikTok. Yeah, mostly YouTube.
Posting on 3 platforms is hard. Like,
yeah, I post the same thing.
yeah.
But I mean, Instagram is a little different. But yeah, I mean, like I just if I make it short, then I'll just post to YouTube and TikTok.
Yeah.
The audience I feel like is very different in the 2 platforms, and YouTube is definitely my preference.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, you're churning out these videos early on. You've got a head start. I'm gonna have to catch up. But I really appreciate it. Vinny says here, great stream, guys. I'm glad I caught it for a bit. I'll check out your YouTube channel, Angelina.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely go over. Anyone who's watching today, go over to Angelina, give her a subscribe, watch her videos, like them, comment. And wish her all the best for the season.
Thank you, everyone.
Freedom Rider, thanks for sharing, getting stoked for the season. So wishing you all the best, Angelina, and
Thanks, you too.
Take care.
Hope you get to ski soon.
Yeah, fingers crossed, not long.
Yeah.
Cheers. And thanks everyone for watching today. A little bit of a different, we've switched to the evenings, just to give you a bit of a heads up. This is kind of what I'm looking to do now for the rest of going into the winter. This was definitely a bit of I wanted to see how this played out, but glad that some of you guys are staying up at this time, so thanks very much. Another vlog will be back during the middle of the week on Tuesday, so until then, stay safe and see you soon.